Okay, so the movie I'd like to talk about is one of, if not the best historical films I've ever seen that isn't a documentary. Now, I was going to do a video on this right after I watched it on HBO Max, but I decided not to because it was not long before it was going to be taken down. I didn't want to put up a video say, you really need to watch this film, and there's no way for you to watch it. And also, I like to have something to display. That's a big thing with me. So the movie is Judas and the Black Messiah. Now, the reason I say it's one of the best, if not the best, historical film is because of the way it incorporates archival footage and then its movie. Because a lot of these films, they do the same thing where they have archival footage and it's there to set the stage for the film. And that's kind of what this does too, and it has a little bit of of recreation in the film as well, because they're getting you into their own retelling of the story. And so the film plays, and then it's a tight shot on it, and it pauses or stops really, because you don't pause film. It stops, and then it cuts to a wide shot of an auditorium, and you hear J. Edgar Hoover.
Black Panthers are recruiting criminals and hoodlums and encouraging them to engage in a broad range of terrorist activities. They are the greatest threat to the internal security of this country.
In this, it's Martin Sheen. I was a bit surprised, I tell you, to hear Martin Sheen's voice, because the opening was just so good, and it really set it up so well. Even though I saw actors' names, and it didn't say this is a documentary, it felt like it was a documentary. So I was really, really shocked to hear Martin Sheen's voice. I was like, wait a minute, that's Martin Sheen's voice. But that's also a very good testament to the filmmaking. The filmmaking is incredible, because that seems like you're still in archival footage, because it just feels like the way it would be. Someone's in the back of the auditorium, they've got a camera with a relatively wide lens, and no one's going to be doing that, obviously. There's not going to be someone filming J. Edgar Hoover addressing his FBI agents, but it just feels like it could be archival footage still. It's just that good, that well done, and that smooth of a transition. But quickly we get close-ups. So we get a close-up of Roy Mitchell, FBI agent Roy Mitchell, getting to his seat. He's the one who recruits Bill O'Neill, who is a car thief, he actually was, to infiltrate the Black Panther Party and get intel on Fred Hampton. And I gotta say, that's one of my favorite performances in the film is Jesse Plemons, who he's a good character actor, playing Roy Mitchell, but also just that relationship between Roy Mitchell and Bill O'Neill. When you read about how it actually was, that they were quite accurate with their relationship. So I'm not going to get into a full review or give the synopsis of the film. I think you should just go watch it. Just go watch it. It's a very good film, and I just want to talk about some of my favorite parts of the film, and then I've got some other things to say as well. But anyway, so the film is, the other reason it's such a great historical film is because it doesn't deviate from its story. Some movies do. Some of these movies do take a deviation from their story, and they try to incorporate something else that took place around the same time. For instance, the trial of the Chicago 7 in this case. And they kind of do that, but in a very brief moment and a very good character building scene, I think. It's touched on very briefly in a scene with J. Edgar Hoover, Roy Mitchell, and another FBI agent. J. Edgar Hoover is showing them pictures of course, oppressed black people. One of them is Bobby Seale, bound and gagged in the courtroom, which in that movie, in the Trial of Chicago 7, was shown just once, but it was many days that he spent like that, actually. So that's a character building moment. They didn't, like I said, they didn't deviate from their story. They just had that quick little, character building moment for J. Edgar Hoover and Roy Mitchell too, actually, showing his reactions to it. He's seemed quite uncomfortable with everything, especially after that he sits down, and this is probably my favorite scene in the movie. J. Edgar Hoover asks him about his family and his daughter, who was just born. She's about 8 months old at this point. And he asks him, what will you do when your daughter brings home a Negro? And he's, of course, Roy Mitchell seems very confused and a little taken aback by all this. And, his first response is, but, she's an infant. And he says, I'm aware, but that doesn't answer my question. And he asks him again, and he says, well, she won't, just because it just comes across as he's telling J. Edgar Hoover what he thinks he wants to hear. That's how it comes across, in a way. But it's a really, really good scene, because J. Edgar Hoover also says in the scene that, I'm pretty sure it's in this scene, that the Black Panther Party are the biggest threat to their way of life. Maybe that was in one of his addresses to the auditorium. But he says that, and he also says that they are the biggest threat to national security, which is true. That's what he did say. He was paranoid and racist. He was a scumbag. But it's an incredibly good scene. I thought it was a very good scene, and it really shows how J. Edgar Hoover, he wasn't the only one like this, of course, but J. Edgar Hoover was really just interested in doing whatever he could to keep the United States white. He'd go to no end to do this. This is why the movie is so poignant and it is so relevant. There's a lot that are, and the unfortunate thing is that it will always be relevant. All the time. Because nothing's gotten better. Nothing has, at least in terms of sensibilities. Nothing has gotten any better. We have moments of a tiny bit of prosperity and things get a little bit better, but racism seems to be like a drug in this country and everywhere, but in this country it seems to be like a drug, and we'll have it. No one quits it cold turkey, but there's always a little bit of laying off a little bit, and then we relapse again, and that's been going on for decades and centuries, really, because I don't see it ever going away. When you are constantly telling people that they are no good and they're just going to grow up to be thugs and they're less than human, and that's the worst one right there. They're less than human, they're incredibly violent, they can't be trusted, and you tell the other side that You should constantly fear them. And you're instilling this in everyone before they even have a chance to develop a personality. What do you expect is going to happen? Exactly what you say is going to happen happens. Not necessarily in all cases, because not everyone, fights back the same way. Everyone does become their own person, but they've still got that in their psyche on either side. They've got one viewpoint or the other in their psyche. Another interesting point is that all the black leaders have been killed, but no Klan members. Yet in the movie, Roy Mitchell tells Bill O'Neill that they're one and the same, the Black Panther Party and the Ku Klux Klan, trying to instill hatred and fear and violence. But nothing ever happens to the Klan. They've never gotten their civil liberties stomped on. So there's Judas and the Black Messiah. It's one of the most important films you're ever going to see in your entire life. Watch it and really, really think about what it is saying. Thank you.